Well, barely a day goes by when there isn't a new charge, accusation or rumour about Sean Diddy Combs. On top of the multiple civil suits and charges, there are suggestions he was involved in the 1996 murder of rapper Tupac. And in the past day or so, it's been suggested that Diddy deliberately poisoned actor and comedian Jamie Foxx in 2023. You might remember Jamie was hospitalised for a mystery condition whilst filming Back in Action. There are also questions being asked about the death of Diddy's wife, Kim Porter, in 2018. More than 100 lawsuits are expected to be filed by the end of the year, and they are coming from people who claim they were sexually assaulted by Diddy, often when they were drugged. And the alleged victims include women, men, and minors. In the meantime, this vile creation of unchecked celebrity and power sits in a cell where he belongs. And now, I've followed Diddy for years. He's an absolute pussy of a man, and I can assure you he is not built for prison. But that's where he'll be until the end of his life. And anyone who's seen the video of the brutal beating that he gave to his former partner, Cassie Ventura, will have no sympathy at all. So Diddy really does represent the dark side of celebrity. This awful saga isn't only about one individual, it's about the abuse of power, privilege, and celebrity. And we're all going to be shocked and disappointed as we hear the names of other celebrities who've either participated in or turned a blind eye to the abusive behaviour that Diddy was involved in. And that behaviour, by the way, ranges allegedly from rape to coercion and to murder. James is a pop culture lover from Perth. What are you making of all this unfolding and very dark chapter in music?
Well, I think that Diddy Combs is just the tip of the iceberg. I have been a cynic about popular culture for a long time, and politics as well. I've become very cynical. I started out kind of getting a bit of an awakening in about 2017 and started following. I saw the Q things, and then the benefit of Q was that people were asked a series of questions and were given, well, he took a whole generation of people and educated them into how to educate themselves and do research. And so that was why he was vilified by the media and the establishment. We already knew about the likes of Diddy Combs, and people that are following this whole kind of stuff realize that Jeffrey Epstein, who God knows where he is, but I'm pretty sure that he didn't kill himself, and Ghislaine Maxwell, both of them they seem to be the one, perhaps the East Coast version of Diddy. And
James, I'm just going to clarify something. You think Jeffrey Epstein may still be alive?
Well, there is a conspiracy theory about that, but he may have gone into witness protection. He may also have been. He's certainly, judging by the cameras and all of it, I can't believe that he killed himself. Like, the cameras all went out, the whole kind of he was either killed or he's not alive.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are photos of his body, so I think we can take as a given he's dead. I understand
the photos of the body. There's a conspiracy theory that he was swapped out using Anthony Bourdain's body.
My goodness.
They are kind of, there's markings and stuff like that. I've seen photos in comparison. So I'm not saying that's true. I'm saying I'm a bit of a collector of conspiracy theories, and I mark them off in my head and note them, and then sit back and in the future go,
Are you suggesting that the Epstein and the Diddy scandals, I understand there are parallels, but are you saying they're linked and intertwined?
I'm saying yes. I'm saying that because what it is all about is about control, blackmail, like and it's also related to the adrenochrome and child harvesting. For so what they do is they torture children and harvest the adrenochrome, and that is
For the uninitiated, James, I'm going to have to keep clarifying things along the way. Are you talking about organs? What is adrenochrome?
so adrenochrome is the world's most expensive drug, which the elite use, which gives them a huge euphoria, and it involves torturing children because it's the spinal fluid, and the blood becomes kind of like one of the reasons they used to get off on burning witches was because when the witches burnt, the fear and anxiety in their bodies, the whole smoke and stuff was euphoric for the people watching, and so this is kind of part of the whole thing. So
sorry, adrenochrome is the release of your own body's whatever whilst you're engaged in the torture of children?
No.
Or is it something you extract from the child?
You extract the spinal fluid and the blood from, I'm not exactly expert on exactly how you extract it, but
then what, they inject it or drink it themselves?
Yes.
Oh, James, this is out there stuff, I've got to say. But, I mean, are you suggesting that with Diddy that's what this ring was all about?
I'm suggesting that it's the elite's favourite kind of pastime, and I'm suggesting that if you're looking at the rates of children going missing, plus one of the things that the Biden administration have done with the relaxing of the border, what they've done is there's all those 300,000 children who've entered into the United States.
Again, I'm just going to clarify here. You think that the border crisis in the United States has been quite deliberate so that there are more children available to the elite?
Yes. Well, one of the reasons why they hate Trump was because Trump allegedly was going after the pedos and the adrenochrome trade.
Well, James, I'm getting much more from you than I expected. I thought we were going to be talking about, but this is just as fascinating, I have to say. You also think that Diddy may have been an Israeli spy? Is that right?
Well, yes, because Epstein, his handler, you've got Robert Maxwell, who was the newspaper man.
That was Ghislaine's father. Yes.
Well, they're obviously all linked, and he was a Mossad agent, allegedly. And Tony Fauci's wife is Ghislaine Maxwell's sister. So
do you mean Dr. Fauci during the COVID crisis?
Yeah, the COVID killer.
Right. Okay.
The COVID czar. His sister is Ghislaine Maxwell.
Wow.
His wife is the sister of Ghislaine Maxwell. That we're all focusing on Diddy like la 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 la, and Ghislaine Maxwell kind of is in jail for trafficking. Well, where are her customers? Why aren't the customers? Why, like when you actually?
Why do you think Ghislaine's not giving up names?
Well, how do we know? But the problem is there's a meme going around that says the reason we don't talk about children trafficking is not because of the children, it's because of who the customers are. The customers for all of these kinds of for adrenochrome and all that kind of stuff, like I think it costs $5,000 per child. The customers are going to be obviously the rich and powerful, and I have a feeling that that every continent, like Bollywood has their Diddy, Australia will have someone because it's about control and blackmail of the politicians, and if you see and media and everyone, so you see the way all of those like Leonardo DiCaprio and the Democrats function like they all jump in and they're all following Kamala Harris. And once you also get into the elite gender inversion, and you start looking at that.
What's the elite gender inversion exactly?
Well, if you've studied biology, you can see that bones are male or female. And so when you look at that level, they're part of their religion at the elite level is this Baphomet god who has the upper body of a woman and the lower body of a man. And so if you look at some of the Hollywood stars, they're all alleged to be gender inverted. So the men are, and there's a process of how they, at 40 days, they inject them with the hormones of the opposite gender so that they develop the genitals of the other sex.
Okay, so James, let me follow the bouncing ball here. Justin Bieber, for example, not famous. He got on a YouTube channel. He got a profile. Diddy gets in touch with Justin and says, I'm going to make you a star. That's what we know. What do you believe happens to Justin from that point?
Well, I think he was basically trafficked by, and this is just me going, I'm an observer and I don't know. So it's allegation. But the allegation is it would appear that he was trafficked for 48 hours at least. Justin Bieber's music kind of, if you listen to the lyrics, it sounds like a tragedy happened. And I think he was drugged and used as a sexual toy. And probably one of the things it would seem from some of the images is that they would drug people, and that whole oil, the baby oil, is supposed to be laced with G, which knocks people out. And so that seemed to be the case, that they would basically knock people out and use them as, they would use famous people and film them being kind of whatevered. And I don't know, and I think there's kinds of Jaguar rights talking about Aaliyah, and I think it's Aaliyah, and people falling out of planes and plane clashes and all that kind of stuff. They perhaps tried to turn Bieber into a monster. And then what seems to be happening with him is that the programming kind of broke later on. And that may be, and so what extent he became a monster in the meantime, that's the question. Like, people kind of, some people are saying, oh, he's victim, but he's an adult. And then did he then become a monster? Because there seems to be this, if you get a child, and because we're not talking about they haven't been talking about the children aspect of it, but it's like the gay thing. If you look at homosexuality, you can make someone gay by having sex with them when they're a child, so they think they're gay. And so there's a grooming kind of thing that goes on. Like the AIDS industry kind of are getting into this here in Western Australia, the big get into the schools, and they're pushing things all the time. And you've got the trans agenda, which they're getting. Well,
James,
and I think it's the same techniques.
James, this is wild, I have to say. Let's go back a little bit. At the beginning, I said, well, I assumed James is a pop culture fan, and this would be a disappointing chapter, the Diddy chapter. But you're not a fan of pop culture or Hollywood or celebrity culture at all. You think it's all a conspiracy.
I'm thinking that what I believe in is the fact that people that are rich, money kind of corrupts you. And so if you look around, we're in this battle between good and evil in the world. And it's a bit like, which chapter of Revelations are we in?
Have you been threatened with legal action because of some of your views, James?
No, because I'm very careful about, you can't you can't get sued for asking questions.
No, but there's some sensational questions you're asking, right, that are very loaded, and they're not really questions, James. Let's be honest. You're making accusations.
No, I'm not. I'm just talking about the conspiracy theories that are out there.
So
they're not my claims.
Now, this spinal fluid that's extracted from the children that are in a state of torture, what is it meant to do for the elite?
Well, it keeps them young and beautiful, and it also gives them a euphoria.
Right.
Its chemical symbol is the white rabbit, which is why the white rabbit comes up in popular culture, because of course it's Pizzagate as well. Like the whole Pizzagate thing.
Okay, now James, help me get to know you a little bit. Do you work, James?
I have got a background in photography and photo media.
Photo media and photography. So a little bit of public relations too, maybe?
A little bit, but not formally.
Okay. So tell me about yourself. Like, do you live on your own? Have you got a partner? What's your life like? Do you work?
Oh, that's a bit unexpected. Can I pass on those questions?
Fair enough. I suppose you're here to talk about celebrity culture, so if you don't want to talk about yourself, that's fine by me. But do you feel that the LGBTQIA plus community is being used to an extent by elites?
Well, yes, in terms of the groups, because because I'm a Muslim as well, and so that adds. And I came back to Perth, and after I became a Muslim, I had a family background from a Christian family. So
Where did you become a Muslim? What country?
In Spain in 2007.
Okay, and what was that process like? I mean, you can't just sort of snap your fingers. You must have studied and all of that sort of stuff.
Well, I've got a degree in religious studies from years ago.
Why did you become a Muslim?
Because I had a religious experience.
What was that?
Well, I just had a religious experience in the Cordoba Mosque, in which I recited the Shahada and had an experience of God, kind of the shivers up the spine and all that kind of stuff. And so then when I came back and so I've always kept it very private. I wasn't didn't run around and I didn't lay it on people. I wasn't I've never been an evangelical Christian where I was telling people they had to follow the Lord or anything like that. But because I was
James,
running their show.
I'm going to interrupt, James. James, you mentioned the Q movement before. I've heard, and I know very little of it, but I have heard that something about lizard people. Have you heard of that? And what is that exactly? What are lizard people?
Well, that wasn't something that came from Q. That's more a David Icke.
Right. Is it something you believe in?
If lizard people were suddenly to appear overnight, would I be surprised given the nature of the world? Probably not. But
okay. And James, it's really important that people listening wouldn't have a clue what we're talking about. What, in the simplest terms possible, what is this theory about lizard people exactly?
Well, they're basically saying that I think it goes back to my understanding of how it works. It goes back to Allah created 3 species. He created humans and angels and the jinn, and the jinn being made of fire, the angels made of ice, and humans made of carbon. And so I believe that the jinn perhaps refer to reptilians. That may be how it kind of works, but I don't know.
But is the theory that there are some elite people covered in maybe human skin but are actually reptiles underneath?
Yes, that is and they use technology apparently they use technology, but I, I to mask themselves, but I haven't seen that. I have seen, like, if you look around at the elite gender inversion stuff, that's kind of very common. Like, that's a kind of a thing. You can see that around you. You go to your shopping centre and stuff, and you'll see that.
What are the warning signs? What should we be looking out for? How do we tell who's an authentic celebrity and who is involved in something grotesque, a grotesque ring?
Well,
is there a way of telling?
We can't. We literally don't know what they do in private, but we do know there is evidence that there is some pretty dark stuff going on. I think it's really unwise to put these, like, we're told in religion not to have idols, and I think that's a really wise thing, because who they say they are in public and who they are in private is really huge. Like, celebrities and AIDS industry professionals and stuff, politicians, they're all coming out and in front of the camera, they're lovely. And but how do I know what they're like?
So you don't follow any celebrities? There's no musicians you admire?
Well, now that I know what they do to children, I'm not a fan of childhood sexual abuse.
Yeah.
And so until they kind of go through, until this whole Diddy stuff, like, who's next? Who's next that's going to be, who was at his party abusing children? Like, the big issue is that it's underage children that were being abused and trafficked by Diddy.
Can I ask you, James, just, I'm curious, do you listen to music? Because I'm imagining with all of this swirling around in your head and the knowledge that you believe you have, that it must be hard for you to put on a record or watch a movie or watch TV. It must be very difficult for you.
Well, as a Muslim music, we have to we understand that a lot of music has satanic messages. So once you understand the symbology, the numerology that is used by the secret societies and all the rest of it, then you can see all that in. And
is that secret society you're referring to sometimes referred to as the Illuminati?
Well, are the Illuminati real? Like, I think that the way Satan rules the world is that he has a bunch of different groups all fighting each other. They're pushing this lie that Satan loves his followers. No, what he did, and he said to Allah that he would take people with him, and that he would give them misinformation and deceive them into following him. And that's the whole kind of thing, the big lie of and so,
James,
but in order to control, like, the way populations are controlled all the time is by divide and conquer.
So, James, what's the solution to all of this? I mean, you've painted an extraordinary problem that sort of infiltrates international borders. What's the solution to all of this?
Well, I think there needs to be investigations of Diddy, and there needs to be, like, where are Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Like, we need to start seeing some justice for the children. We need to start seeing where are the children that are going missing all the time, for a start. And we need to, like human trafficking, the drug culture, whether it's fentanyl or meth, we really need to see governments, the people in authority, the FBI,
investigating.
Because there's Hunter's laptop as well. Like, that is a whole. They've acknowledged that Hunter's laptop is real, but no one's been charged. And the point is what needs to happen is there needs to be justice for those children. You can't be having people going around raping and abusing children and letting them get away with it. And
James, final question. What's going to happen to Diddy, in your opinion? What happens next?
Well, you heard it first here. Diddy did not kill himself. He may be killed in jail because it would appear from what people are saying, and I'm not saying this, but apparently he's singing like a budgie, and he's got all those tapes, and apparently he's released the tapes onto the black market, onto the dark web. So, or will they just take him and put him on a celebrity island, and where all the rest of the celebrities who get charged but never kind of get convicted? You know, I mean, I'm just kind of a little person, but I don't see any justice yet. And unless they start releasing names and charging people for being co-conspirators, like, unless they kind of say, well, and the Diddy crimes are so like egregious. What we've seen in terms of the pictures, there's pictures coming out of celebrities in compromising positions and allegations about some of the celebrities. And there's celebrities on X deleting their profiles, and people seem to be running around kind of in a bit of a flap.
You think there's a few scared celebrities out there at least?
I think the whole world of the elites is panicking because they know that once we understand what they do to children, there's a question mark. So every time I see a politician, every time I see a celebrity, I deal with them appropriately and respectfully because I'm a civilized person. Like, adrenochrome production is all about money at the end of the day. And so it's not the poor people that, like, I don't look at poor people and go, oh yeah, I can see you kind of like as a guilty party. No, and so the wealthy people in the world are going to have to kind of step forth and say, well, it's not us, and they need to purge their ranks.
You're a fascinating person, James. I assume you're going to be following this really, really closely.
Oh yes, I've got my popcorn. I'm waiting to see who gets arrested next.
Well, James, it's been brilliant talking to you. I really appreciate you sharing your views, wild as they might be and unexpected for me as they might have been. But I hope you've enjoyed your time in the fortress.
Yes, well, thank you very much for having me and letting me kind of express other people's ideas.